Welcome to the Feminine Thriving Podcast, brought to you by the Jade Temple, the sisterhood devoted to the wisdom and pleasure of the female body.
We are your hosts, Tamara and Hilary Kimball, and we are excited to journey with you as we share all about how to move from surviving to thriving in a female body. Thriving for us means you feel a sense of safety in your own body, that you are dripping with sensuality and aliveness, that you're experiencing pleasure and orgasms that connect you to your own divinity, and you feel confident, powerful, and abundant walking this planet with a badass community of sisters by your side. Oh, and we welcome the mess, the mud, the chaos, and embrace all that it is to be a woman.
There will be solo episodes, episodes with both of us, and episodes with other smart, wise, funny, and sexy women, and maybe even men, to share their embodied wisdom with us. We acknowledge our sharing on this podcast comes from the experiences and viewpoints of us, two white, middle-class, cisgendered women. If we ever say anything that causes harm to you or your experience on the planet, please share with us so that we can continue to grow, learn, and bring new perspectives also to this space.
So, without further ado, let's drop into today's juicy episode. Hi, loves. Welcome back to Feminine Thriving Podcast. Hey, Hill.
Hey, everyone. Hey, Tam. It's amazing to be here with y'all again. Thanks for tuning in.
Yay! So let's just dive right in. Today's episode, we want to talk about feminine embodiment, which is one of both of our favorite topics and something that we love to offer at the Jade Temple. It's probably like our core practice that we're really offering weekly and have been for many years in the Jade Temple. Yeah, and I think for some women, they are like, I keep hearing about this feminine embodiment word because it is becoming more and more popular. But maybe don't know what it is. So yeah, let's dive into that today and really just unpack what is feminine embodiment for us. And it can mean so many different things, but why don't you start and we'll see where it wants to go from there.
Yeah, I feel like we could talk about so many different topics right now. But maybe it makes sense to begin talking about our actual practice of feminine embodiment, which, like you said, it's the core class that we offer at the Jade Temple in Thailand, in our center there. It's the core class that we offer in our membership. And the thing with how we offer feminine embodiment is I actually feel that it is so simple. It's a practice that utilizes 5 different tools, and it's designed as a way to connect, just simply a way to connect not only with ourselves, but with our female bodies, with our breasts, with our wombs, with our yonis. And so in this practice, as I said, there's 5 tools that we use, and they are awareness, breath, sound, movement, and self-touch. And it's not just that we're using these, it's not just that we're breathing and sounding and moving, but we're deliberately breathing and sounding and moving and have our awareness directed towards our female body. That is the absolute key. And that is what makes this practice a complete game changer for women. So when we're guiding a feminine embodiment, there's a constant invitation to come back to the breast, to come back to the womb, to come back to really the whole pelvis and the whole sexual center through these tools. So for instance, you could just kind of be resting and meditating with your awareness on your breasts, or you could be breathing down as if you're physically breathing into your breasts. You can make sounds as if you're sounding from your breasts. You, of course, can be touching your breasts, either physically right up against the skin or energetically off the skin. And what's the last one that I'm missing? Movement. So you can, for those of you who are watching the video, moving in ways that really deliberately move the heart and the chest and the breast area. So in its simplicity, I would say that's what feminine embodiment is. But I really love what you started this out by saying, which is that it means a different thing to everyone, and maybe on a different day it would mean something different to me too. But that's kind of the basis of the way that we offer the practice in the Jade Temple. What do you think?
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, it's exactly as you said. And I sometimes say this at the beginning of a class, but if you ask me on a different day what is feminine embodiment, I might say it a different way every time, and just with slightly different words, because it's so vast and so beautiful and so profound. But for me, yeah, it's really like any kind of embodiment is really making this mind body connection. So it's bringing our awareness to our body and the sensations and the things that are moving through our body, and
Mm,
really creating like a heightened and deepened mind body connection. Um, and for me, yeah, because the more connected we are to our body, the more we can access the wisdom, which is this body intelligence that's
mhm,
communicating to us all day, every day through this language of sensation, as well as the pleasure. We start to access the pleasure and expand our capacity to be able to feel pleasure.
yeah,
So, yeah, I would say that for me, it's like this practice of connecting to the wisdom and pleasure of our female bodies. And as you said, like we're really focusing on the female bodies, the female part, the parts that make us female, our breasts, our womb, our whole pelvic area, our yonis. And that really is because we're already so disconnected from our bodies in general as humans, even more as women, and then even more again from these particular parts of us, which we have been taught to judge, to feel shame, to feel like they're there for the pleasure of other people, or only
mhm,
for a purpose for feeding or for having sex. And like really we've become so disconnected from these parts of us that really are the most powerful parts of us.
mhm.
This is where we have the deepest connection and the deepest wisdom, and so many, yeah, so much beautiful power in these parts of our bodies.
Yeah, yeah, and
Mm.
part of the reason why I love this practice is because, a lot of the students and clients that we see, maybe they have read somewhere or heard from like a teacher, a coach or something that these are the most powerful parts of their body. But the thing is that's not their lived experience when they first come to this path. And so then it's like, well, what to do? It's like, I can't think my way there. It's like, I can't just tell myself, like, my womb is really powerful and very wise. Like, it's not going to work. So these embodiment practices, they're a bottom up approach. They're a way to cultivate um, this connection through the tools that then very, very naturally open space for the wisdom and, like you said, the pleasure, and I think also the healing and the power to really just organically and naturally come through all on its own.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And it is like it's such, as soon as so many women that come through their like first time, it's like, oh my God, I get it. I know exactly
Yeah.
what you're talking about. This isn't something that necessarily you need to be, of course, practicing over time and practicing consistently. It starts to turn it into more of a lifestyle, and starts to impact everyday moments and
Hmm.
everyday life.
Hmm.
Yet the power and the impact of it is felt in the first class.
Yeah.
Right? Like women are just like, oh my God, I get it. I
Yeah,
get it.
absolutely. And there's, our classes are only 60 minutes long. It's not like we're in there for like, days at a time or anything. Um, but I think the beautiful thing is that we can use these tools to just draw our awareness to these parts of us. And for most women, we're not used to spending, you know, an hour, let alone 5 minutes, let alone 30 seconds with, our awareness in our pelvises, for instance, especially without trying to get anything in return, you know? So I think that this practice is profound by itself because it invites that slow, gentle connection, the neural networks to literally build over time. And um, as you were saying, Tim, I think a lot of women really see benefits after just doing this one time. And when you do it consistently, it really starts to root something into, I think, your psyche, your body, your nervous system, your spirit, even. And that changes every aspect of your life.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I
Hmm.
think when you were just talking about neural networks, it's a really important thing just to expand on a little bit, which I think is really helpful to understand when we're talking about even like tuning into the wisdom of the body or expanding the pleasure in the body. This is what's happening. Our brain is making these neural pathways. And when we're not making these connections, these pathways, the brain puts its energy and its focus on the pathways that are being used. So
Mhm.
that's why we start to feel this numbness or we feel disconnected because the neural pathways are not being built and the brain
Mhm.
starts to just shut them off if they're not being used. So this practice of just bringing even just simply this awareness, awareness,
Mhm.
awareness, we're building these neural pathways and it's switching them back on. It switches the
Mhm.
body back on. It switches this mind-body
Mhm.
connection to be able to, like we said, hear the body wisdom and also feel more pleasure.
Yeah.
And it's such a, yeah, I think once you start to think of it like that, it's really helpful because so many women come in and they feel a lot of numbness in their body and they
Yeah.
find deep grief in that, really deep
Yeah.
grief in perhaps the first time they do breast massage with intention and they're like,
Mhm.
my nipples and my breasts are completely numb.
Yeah.
So many women at the end of their first class share that and
Mhm.
cry.
Mhm.
And so it's just like this practice is the thing that helps
Yeah.
with that. This is the practice that is building those neural pathways and will awaken the body and
Yeah.
allow you to be able to feel that again, feel sensation there.
Totally. And the beautiful thing is that it will happen. It might not happen today or tomorrow, although it might happen today or tomorrow. Some women, it's a very, quick switch. Um, but it will happen. It's sometimes it just takes time and it takes, you know, really not. I think something about feminine embodiment, like a really central part of it, is not forcing yourself. So, not pushing yourself. So, for instance, you were just talking about women experiencing numbness in the body. So, if that's happening, instead of like, oh, there's numbness. Why is there numbness? This shouldn't be here. It's like, okay, there's numbness here. What does that numbness feel like? Can I be with that numbness? Can I love that numbness? Can I really recognize that maybe there's some deep intelligence in that numbness and that I don't need to do anything other than just hold it and be with it? That is what feminine
Mm.
embodiment is. And I feel like that approach of meeting our bodies where they're at and going super slowly, doing only what's doable, that brings tremendous amount of healing and safety into the nervous system. And I think of that as like the foundation for, the deeper healing or the deeper pleasure work that we also do.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is the nervous system work is the basis of everything that we're doing. And it's, we could again talk about that for a whole podcast episode, and probably we will.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the bedrock and the basis of this work, but it's also the like basis of life and how we
Mhm.
experience life. It's so interconnected with what we're talking about with embodiment. You can't be in the body if you're dysregulated all the time. So this working with the nervous system, creating this deep safety in the body, working with all of the nervous system tools to feel safe enough to drop down and be in the body.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and I love what you're saying about, being with what is, and it's again such a big part of this practice is like when we're connecting to the body, we're not just connecting to the sensations, we're so often also connecting to emotions. And those emotions can arise from the memories or stories or things that may come up as we access these parts of our bodies. Sometimes we don't even know what the story is or what
Mhm.
it is that's bringing up these emotions. But when we have this space to connect, it's like the uh, we so again so many women just say, oh my god, it's so nice just to come and be with what is, to feel these emotions. They're there under the surface often humming away and we're pushing them to the side or we're not quite allowing ourselves to access them, and then when we come into this space, drop into the bodies, it's almost like there's no way to avoid it here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
mm,
And I think the beauty that can happen with a process like what you're talking about is like when we're creating space to feel what's there. So, to feel what we are actually holding physically, energetically, emotionally in the female body. And we do hold a lot of our stuff there. We hold emotions and memories and traumas and conditionings. It's all held there really in the tissues of the cells, you know? So when we create space to go there, our stuff starts to come up. And I think the one of the beautiful things is that right there on the other side of that is access to pleasure and joy and beauty. So something we also hear a lot of women say who come to the Jade Temple, whether it's the first time or the 100th time, is, you know, they're having experiences, even deep spiritual experiences of connecting with themselves or connecting with something larger than themselves through going into their female bodies. And to, you know, especially for someone who's carrying trauma, to have an experience of pure joy or freedom or bliss or divine connection with your body, it's like, wow, that can really actually change
Mm,
a whole person's orientation to how they relate with with themselves.
mm. So beautiful. So beautiful. And yeah, what was coming up for me as well as you were sharing that is, you know, it's sometimes it can feel like a bit of a cliched saying, but this like feeling is healing, right? It
Hmm.
really is. All of these emotions, these things that are coming up, they want to be felt. And when we're not feeling them, we're suppressing them and we're pushing them away and they're just getting stored in the body and they pop out in different ways. It can pop out in disease, it can pop out in um, like depression, it can pop out in anxiety, it has different ways of appearing because we're not actually feeling it to allow it to kind of have its natural process through the body.
Hmm.
So yeah, this feeling is healing. I always say to women when they're in this space, like, go into it, feel it, feel it. This is not the place that we avoid. You know, we do so much avoiding in life. Like, how
Hmm.
can we just like dive into that feeling and that emotion to heal? To
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For
mm.
sure.
Yeah, so many benefits. I also love to, when I'm guiding, you know, particularly as we're moving into some self touch or breast massage, like for me, this is a self love ceremony. It's a ceremony where we are pouring love with our own hands into our own body and into ourselves.
Hmm.
And sometimes, often, it's like maybe the first time that we've like been like, wow, like I can bring myself pleasure, which can be completely non-sexual pleasure,
Hmm.
just pleasure of my own touch, which in itself is so healing for our nervous system.
Yeah.
But also this idea of like pour your love in, like thank you body, like wow, what a gratitude for this body that
Hmm.
she gives us, carries us every day through our entire life. And this idea of just offering this loving touch, and you know sometimes that's hard for women to access straight away. It doesn't necessarily it can't necessarily just become, oh my god, I love myself, I love my body in the first
Hmm.
instance.
Hmm.
But just the idea of intention, that intention, it's starting
Hmm.
to change that relationship almost
Yeah.
instantly.
Yeah, and I think another really key component that we bring in a lot is this idea of goallessness. So, touching our bodies
Mm,
sensually or sexually without an aim or a goal. And I think for most women to realize that that's even a possibility, it's like, oh, okay, I can let down my guard. I can just be here, because most of the time when we're in a sexual situation, whether it's with ourselves or with someone else, we are trying to get somewhere. We're trying to get pleasure. We're going for orgasm. We're trying to please our partner. We're not just completely there in the moment. And so to relate to our own bodies like that, especially to touch our own breasts and our own yonis without needing to have pleasure or orgasm or anything else, it is tremendously healing for a lot of women. And for me, that approach completely changed my life and my sexuality. Excuse me. So, yeah,
mm.
I think that's another really important component. Sorry, I just swallowed my own spit in a weird way. Excuse me.
No worries, take your time. Take
Mhm.
your time. And I think that's really true. This like got this without touching ourselves without a goal, and of course, one of the things that we do in pretty much all of our feminine embodiment classes, it may not be in the way everyone does a feminine embodiment class, but I know you and I both generally do a breast massage in most classes as like a really core
Mhm.
practice for feminine embodiment and connecting to our female bodies.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that I absolutely love, again, I'm referring often to our classes because this is just like it's the power of the words of other women, not just of you and I, But
Mhm.
at the end of a class, the full class is 2 hours. We often do a circle at the beginning, and we share at the end with the 1 hour practice in the middle. And women often say, like, if you told me 2 hours ago that I would have sat in a room full of women with my top off
Yeah.
giving myself a breast massage, I absolutely would not have believed that this would be
Yeah.
possible. Like, absolutely not. Like, I was
Mhm.
2 hours ago, I had the deepest shame and insecurity and
Mhm.
judgment and da 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 da. And there's absolutely no way I would have been
Mhm.
believed that I would be comfortable to do this. But by
Mhm.
the time we got to breast massage and I saw women sitting in a circle with everyone having different breasts and different shaped breasts and different body types, and it just seeing this practice as one of the most natural and beautiful things.
Mhm.
It's a non-sexual practice.
Mhm.
It's really this deeply nourishing, healthy, healing practice that we're doing with our female breast. And when we're sitting in a circle, yeah, I just wanted to bring that in because I know that sometimes some of these things we might talk about self-touch or touching our breast massage, touching our
Mhm.
yoni, but there is something that when we're just in this space doing it together that it feels very, very natural and
Mhm.
accessible.
Mhm. Mhm. And that's the power of safety, when we can drop into a space, and especially a lot of the feedback we get is that women come into our space and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I immediately feel safe and held." So when a woman feels safe, and I think especially when there's a community around her encouraging her, not encouraging her to push past her boundaries or do something that she actually doesn't want to do, but a community that's saying, if you don't take your shirt off, I love you just as much as if you take your shirt off and do this practice, I love you. There's something that feels very safe and connecting about that. So yeah, yeah. I think that there's an immense power in the safety and in the sisterhood in these practices as well. And to me, that the sisterhood is a huge benefit. It's kind of like a secondary benefit, I would say, of these practices. When we do them together with other women, we just go a lot deeper and a lot higher, and we're able to release a lot of the shame and the guilt and the conditionings that hold us back, that we're just kind of pushing down. They have a space to come up and out, and there's a freedom that can be experienced in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the power of doing this work together is it's like exponential and yeah, super, super beautiful.
Hmm.
Mm, I have so many things that I could just keep talking and talking
I
about.
know. We could circle
um,
around for a long time on this. It feels like a pretty good
we really
introduction.
could, and maybe yeah, and maybe we'll come back and do a second round, and
Hmm.
maybe I don't know, even if anyone has any questions, if there's anything that's like sparked an interest or any one thing that you would like us to go deeper into. We're going to be recording more and more podcasts over the next months and maybe years. Let's see where
Hmm.
this goes. I hope so. So yeah, I think maybe for today we can just pause there on this like sisterhood, the impact of doing this work together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are there any other last, I don't know, nuggets or
Mm.
anything that you want to share specifically about feminine embodiment before we
Mm.
close off this?
Just that it is such a simple practice. You can actually do an entire feminine embodiment practice laying down, and it can be like so chill and relaxing, or it can be way more active. There's a lot of, just like feminine embodiment doesn't mean one thing. There's a million different ways to do feminine embodiment practices. Um, so yeah, if anyone's curious, we do have a 10-day connect to your female body course, and in that we actually break down, like really break down the different components of feminine embodiment, where each day for 10 days we send you a new video and a new audio practice to yeah, so that you can learn more about this in detail and get it into your body. So you're welcome to head on over to our website and check that out if you're feeling it.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful 10 days. Just sign up just by signing up for our emails. And yeah, you'll start to really uncover and get deeper into everything that we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Yay.
Amazing.
All right, my love. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you for
much. Thanks for
listening.
tuning in, everyone. We love you so much, and we hope to see you somewhere in our virtual or physical spaces.
See you very soon.
Love
Bye, loves.
you. Bye.
Thank you for listening, sisters. We hope you're feeling expanded after being here with us. If you are, the best way you can support us on this journey of creating free content for this movement is to rate, review, or share this podcast. It would mean so much to us as we try and grow this sisterhood into a global revolution.
And if you want to hear all of our latest news, get free practices and tips, and learn about our offerings, sign up for our juicy emails at thejadetemple.com. Thank you so much, sisters. We love you and hope to see you soon.